So you're thinking about moving to Kansas City, but have no idea what to expect. Well, nice to meet you. I'm Rachel Kilmer, a local realtor in Kansas City, and I help people move to the KC Metro from out of state all the time. And yes, there are some big surprises that they stumble into. In fact, many of my clients that move to Kansas City from out of state find me right here on YouTube. And that's how we first meet. And then the conversation goes, so I think I'm gonna move to Kansas City, or my job is moving there. What should I expect? And there is so much to unpack, but I've learned the most from the people that have made that move from out of state to Kansas City and come back to tell me the things that surprised them. I have one couple that loved Kansas City so much, they came from Washington State, they convinced their mother to come from Washington State, and their best friends to come from Washington State. And they are a huge source for me in this video on the top 5 most unexpected things about living in Kansas City. Let's dive in. Number one of the things that might surprise you the most unexpected things about living in Kansas City is how loyal you become to your side of the state line. Kansas City is super unique in that it straddles 2 state lines pretty much equally in terms of population in the metro as a whole. Of course, Kansas City, Missouri, the actual city is on the Missouri side. But it's interesting because even people from out of state come here and immediately become either Kansans or Missourians. You really suddenly become weirdly loyal to your side of the state line. That even goes more local. You become loyal to the county you live in, your college sports team if you don't have one. Depends on which side of the state line you live on. So that is something that really surprises people from out of town. Another thing that catches people that move to Kansas City off guard is how particular Kansas Cityans are about like verbiage around communities. For example, we have a Kansas City, Missouri, which is actually the city of Kansas City. People refer to the entire metro as Kansas City. We also have KCK, which is Kansas City, Kansas, the city, but no one actually refers to the Kansas side of the state line as Kansas City, Kansas. Most of that is in a county called Johnson County, which people call Johnson County. Up north, we have North Kansas City, which is an entirely separate municipality, and then we have Kansas City North. If you get those crossed, Kansas Cityans will correct you. So it's really funky with our geography here, but it's really funny how quickly you catch on and then you start correcting people within a few months of moving here. Number 2 is the extreme swings in weather. So this is a question that almost everyone asks me when they're thinking about moving to Kansas City. What's the weather like? And my answer is kind of, well, what time is it? What day is it? What week is it? Because it changes so dramatically. In my opinion, that's one of the great things about Kansas City. I love that we get all 4 seasons here. Truly we do. Although sometimes spring is a little shorter than I would like for it to be. And same thing with fall. Those transitional seasons sometimes feel like it's like, oh, we had 2 weeks of spring or 2 weeks of fall. But truly, we get all of the extremes. In fact, our average low in January, average low temperature, dips down to 21 degrees. Our average high in July soars up to 89 degrees. So that is a huge difference in our average temperature that we experience throughout the year. So get ready for that. We do have tornadoes. We do have severe weather. We almost never have earthquakes. Occasionally we'll feel a little tiny bit of one from somewhere else. And it's pretty windy a lot of times. So the weather, it is extreme. However, most people here, that's one of the things they love about living in Kansas City. Although, ask me that again in February. Number 3 on the most unexpected things about living in Kansas City is our passion for sports. Even the clients that I have that have moved here that really know nothing or care nothing about sports, I see them a month or 2 down the road and they're wearing a Chiefs shirt. And when I ask them why, we kind of laugh. They're like, well, you should have told me that everyone wears red on Fridays here. Like you can't go to the grocery store without wearing red or else you feel left out. So the passion runs so deep. Of course, we have the Royals, Major League Baseball team as well. They're not doing as hot lately, so the love there isn't quite as intense as it once was. But then we also have lots of other teams. We have the Kansas City Current, a women's professional soccer team. We have Sporting KC, a men's professional soccer team. We have professional, like semi-professional hockey. We have all kinds of college sports as well. So the passion here is huge. The Chiefs, of course, are number 1. So yeah, people wear red on Fridays and then on game days as well. And then during football season, it's pretty much acceptable to wear a Chiefs shirt any day of the week. A lot of offices let you wear Chief shirts and jeans on game days and on Fridays that they normally wouldn't. So it is a huge part of our culture here. Chiefs games are famous for their tailgating. So we have our stadiums are kind of outside of the city a little bit. So they have these massive parking lots all around them that just are filled to the brim with people tailgating before Chiefs games. It is a huge part of our culture. So like I said, the passion for local sports, I think most people have heard of it, but once they experience the intensity firsthand, it's pretty unexpected and also fun. Another unexpected thing about living in Kansas City is our amazing food scene. I know most people know that Kansas City is famous for barbecue, which there is amazing barbecue in Kansas City. You have to have your favorite spot. You have to have, and most people have like a favorite spot for ribs, and then a favorite spot for coleslaw, and a favorite spot for the sauce, and a favorite spot for the dry rub. So you have like a roster of barbecue spots, if you will. It's a whole thing. It is a whole thing. But that's not all we do. The foodie scene here is honestly so good. I have had so many clients move here from out of state that say they're foodies and they're nervous about moving here because of that. Because I think you think Midwest and you think kind of like bland and not that much variety. That is not the case here at all. We have farm-to-table restaurants. We have about every international cuisine you could wish for. Tons of we surprisingly have some good sushi, some good seafood, even though we're landlocked. We're some great Italian, lots of really good Mexican food. In fact, KCK is famous for their Mexican food. They have a whole taco trail. There's an area in KCMO on Southwest Boulevard that has tons of great Mexican restaurants. So tons of amazing food. So if you are a foodie, get ready to be overwhelmed. Your notes app is going to be absolutely filled to the brim with restaurants, and I would be happy to recommend you some. So text me, email me, slide into the DMs, and we'll talk all things Kansas City food scene. Also, don't forget about the beer scene in Kansas City. If you like beer, Kansas City is home to Boulevard Brewing, which is, a national, international brewer now, but they started in Kansas City, and there are tons of smaller craft brewers here as well. So the food and beer scene here is phenomenal. Personally, I'm more of a wine drinker, and I will be the first to admit that our wine scene, we're working on it. We're working on it, okay? The fifth most unexpected thing about living in Kansas City is how much you will drive. We drive a lot in Kansas City. It is not unheard of to hop in your car and drive 45 minutes just to go out to eat. Kansas Cityans look at driving like it's nothing. It's the same thing as just taking a nice little walk. A 30-minute drive is a pretty standard commute in Kansas City. The reason is our metropolitan area is huge. It spans a huge footprint, and we have a ton of highway lanes. In fact, we have more freeway lanes per capita than any other large metropolitan area in the United States. 27% more than the second place city, which is the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Lots of highways there if you've been there before. 50% more than the average American metropolitan area, and 75% more than Las Vegas, which is a similar size in terms of population. So yeah, tons and tons of highways, tons and tons of driving. And another thing that further compounds that problem is that we don't really have a lot of public transportation. Kansas City does have a public bus system. It's not used a ton, and it doesn't cover the whole metro. It doesn't have a ton of stops. It's there. They have a streetcar now, but it's kind of the opposite problem. It's really small, and it runs constantly, but it really only covers about 2 miles at this point. They're looking to expand it, so hopefully that will help improve things. But if you are thinking about moving to Kansas City, just get ready. You're going to be driving a lot. So in conclusion, there are a lot of very expected things about moving to Kansas City. It is a wholesome Midwest city. It's exactly what you would expect. But there are some unexpected things like we've talked about today. One is becoming really loyal to your side of the state line. Suddenly you define yourself as a Kansan or a Missourian. Another is getting used to extreme swings in weather. But suddenly you'll become a sports fan. You'll become passionate about local sports. You might be surprised by our amazing food scene. And then, the unexpected experience of driving all the time everywhere. So those are 5 of the most unexpected things about moving to Kansas City as told to me by my many clients that have met me here on YouTube and then ended up moving here. I will say though, those things are unexpected. For the most part, these clients are very happy. And I've had a couple that then their jobs relocated them and they had to move away and they were so sad to leave. So Overall, the people that I've had that have moved to Kansas City have great things to say about it and are really, really happy they made the move. So if that's a move you're thinking about, I'd be happy to chat with you about it. I'm licensed to help you buy or sell on both sides of the state line and would love to teach you how it all works. So thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.